This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason, what do you have on tap for us today?
Well, as I said last time, we're not actually done with Kieran Gillen because, well, all of the stuff, all the relevant issues and tie-ins for his big event series for Marvel, Judgment Day, have finally hit Marvel Unlimited. So I was able to read them and reread them over the past couple of weeks. It's like because it's Gallon had said that he wasn't actually coming back to Marvel unless he was given like the keys to like a big franchise, and he was given the keys to two actually. He was given he was actually he and Asad Ribic were given like the license to start a new Eternal series like at Marvel just in time for the new movie to come out, which the movie was all right, and I think that if anything it has a really great cliffhanger or set up for a cliffhanger rather than an actually great movie. But Guylan and Enderbick did a good job of spelling out their case for a new run of Eternals in the sense that so you've got these unchanging beings who are guided by three distinct principles: protect Celestials, um, it's like protect the machine, which is like the machine that is Earth, and also correct excess deviation, which is basically prevent deviance from going out of control. And they decided to go and upend these things by revealing that not only were like Eternals fueled by human lives, because whenever an Eternal dies, a random human is chosen to die in order to resurrect them. But also, it was revealed that the deviants were like the real source of wonder and progress, for the Eternal Machine. It's like while deviants were initially thought to be just change constantly changing monsters, they're actually revealed to be like, hey, they're just ones who just keep finding new ways to present themselves within the Eternal Machine, and the Eternals are just meant to safeguard that fact, even though it's like some Eternals, some deviants just go crazy and just mutate out of control, and that's what the Eternals are, are meant to protect against. But the Eternals just kind of view themselves as the good guys, the deviants are the bad guys. They're meant to get them in check, and these first two volumes were just basically all about espousing this fact. Now, I thought these first two volumes were pretty good. It was my hope that hey, it's like after years of trying that Marvel would finally have given the Eternals a strong enough creative team in order to grant them a you know strong enough commercial presence to allow them to tell the story they wanted to, as opposed to most of them being cut off at the knees, back to them when they were with Jack Kirby, and also that time that Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. took a crack at them lasted all they did their 7-issue miniseries and then said, okay, everyone else can have a crack at them, and the Fall of Eternals series lasted all of 9 issues. There you go. So Eternals have kind of sort of always been commercial poison with Marvel, and I was hoping that Gillen and Ribbick's take would be enough to allow them to tell a story that that would allow them to last beyond just say 12 or 18 issues. There you go. But well, all that their take wound up lasting was 12 issues and an event, because Judgment Day is what followed after on the second volume of Eternals, because Gillen, being the consummate unprofessional that he is, knew that he was that things are leading into this event, and so basically it involves the second volume of Eternals basically involves Druig, the most duplicitous of the Eternals, being elected Prime Eternal in the wake of his role in the defeat of Thanos, or rejecting Thanos. Yeah, that Thanos as the Prime Eternal. Like now he's the Prime Eternal, and he's kind of like a compromise candidate. Like people realize that okay, well he's better than the other ones we've got, but he's still, but Druig is still kind of untrustworthy and kind of a dick. So we're just gonna keep him along until we can keep him around until we can find someone else who is better in charge. So Druig thinks about, oh, okay, what can I do to short my position? Hey, wait a second. Correct excess deviation. It's like what other people on Earth deviate a whole lot? Mutants. Yeah, that's right. Because Volume 2 ends with Druig realizing that that the mutants on Krakoa have really deviated a lot from their initial from their initial standing. Not only are they calling a lot of shots on Earth these days, well, they've also spread beyond Earth to Mars as well. Like, doesn't that count as deviation? I think it does. And while Druig's initial plan is to just nuke them with like an animator device, well, that conflicts with their second principle, protect the eternal machine, which is Earth. So after Druig, Druig and his assistant start bleeding from the eyes after enacting that plan, they realize, okay, it's time to go to war. We're going to correct the excess deviation that is Krakoa, and here we go. So that's the start of Judgment Day. It's not a years seeded in advance storyline of the kind that let's say Jason Aaron's War of the Realms was, but it's also not the kind of hey, this kind of springs up right out of nowhere a business that was, say, the Age of Ultron. Or Fear itself, just to pull some random subjects right on my ass as well. So but the thing is, the Eternals fighting the mutants only lasts for the first 2 issues of this 6-issue miniseries. Now I say it's a 6-issue miniseries. That's not counting all the tie-in stuff that's also relevant to enjoying the main plot as well. And I do say enjoy, because I did like this, even though it's I did have the advantage of being able to read all of the main series and all of its relevant tie-ins, because the Eternals throw out their big guns. They say their psychic unimind, where all the Eternals join together and engage in their own psychic assault against but they've also got the other X-Men, their big psychic guns. So basically you've got them tying up the biggest guns as well, and also some certain Eternals just being able to be stealthy enough to try and take out the 5, who are the chief architects of the resurrection circuit, on Krakoa. There's all sorts of that, all sorts of business like that, because Gillen, he's one of the current main architects of the X line, with his work on Immortal X-Men. So he's got a good handle on both sides of the conflict here. Spell out how things are going to go. And while the first issue is just all about everyone getting getting their fight on. I mean, the X-Men and the Eternals just duking it out on the shores of Krakoa and in its in its psychic skies as well. And the Avengers just showing up, trying to do their best to make sure no one murders each other permanently, which is kind of funny because both sides are kind of eternal in this point. Well, the big thing comes in issue 2 when when one group of Eternals, basically the kind we've been following in Gillen's series, specifically led by A.X.E, realize that, okay, this is going nowhere. If we're going to find an end to this conflict, we need to find a way to supersede Druig's role as a Prime Eternal. We need to build a new god. And by new god, we mean an actual new Celestial. And it turns out that, hey, we've got a Celestial. It turns out that the Celestial that the Avengers have been living in as part of Jason Aaron's run on the title. So they so A.X.E, the Eternals High Priest, this is important to note that she's their High Priest, A.X.E, and her subordinate Makari basically decide to recruit, Tony Stark, Phastos, the chief engineer of the Eternals, and God help us, Mr. Sinister, to build a new proper Celestial in order to give them new rules in order to like hopefully like end this needless war between the Eternals and the mutants. And it's like it's like recruiting Mr. Sinister is definitely a bad move in general, but the fact that hey, it allows Gillen to write more of like this supremely witty bastard that whose interpretation who has thankfully emerged as the definitive version of the character. It's like that's not necessarily a bad thing as far as like people enjoying this. If you're enjoying the story, if you're meant to enjoy the story, it's like this is actually pretty good because like even though like Sinister is just like thoroughly in it for himself and also to troll anyone who believes him to be like his better like over the course of the series, then yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's like and I love that over the course of the series, even if it's just like I wouldn't say it's like this is sort of like the core of the story, but it's a lot of fun at least. But the thing is, like they actually do succeed in building this new god, and well, this god looks at them and says, "Okay, stop fighting, cease, and now you have 24 hours to justify yourself because this new celestial god has basically looked at them and said, "You are terrible." It's like you're terrible. You're a bunch of terrible people. You have not like just justified your existence. So I'm just going to give you 24 hours to prove that you are worthy of continuing on. And just to like drive home the point, like the first person he judges is Captain America and says like you have done your best to try and inspire people for decades, and the world is now worse. It's like after you have lived in it, you have failed. So that kind of gives you the impression of like how things are going here. It also gives the series, like the spinoff series and the tie-ins, like the raison d'etre for like how they're going to tie in the series. Basically, how do they react? How do the characters react to being judged by this new celestial? And one of the things that Judgment Day gets right is that it actually gives the like this giant like antagonist like more of a personality than you expect, because Gillen actually like writes him monologuing from the first issue, because he's presented as a proper god, and like so he's basically able to exist past like in front of his proper existence and also after his quote unquote demise as well. So he's basically like, kind of like like narrating and commentating on this like the series from the start, and that's really interesting. Also interesting is the fact that Gillen also focuses on six different humans over the course of the series, and like from there for how they react to the events as well. Some are just oblivious to the goings on. Others like are like deeply invested. Like and some are just kind of like hey, it's like I realize what's going on, but aren't the heroes going to save us? It's like it's a nice unique perspective, and one that doesn't get explored as often as you expect in these events. And like there's also, and overall it's like there's a lot of interesting like twists the series takes, such as like seeing everyone like how everyone reacts to being judged, and also the emergence of like ways to try and like subvert the expectations, such as the revelation that, oh wait a second, one of the Eternals in the exclusion, the Eternal prison, is Star Fox. Now, Star Fox was an Avenger, like someone who like had the power of love, and was reinterpreted by Dan Slott in his She-Hulk run as kind of like it's like a living roofie. Basically, someone who was just like was able to make you fall in love with him, like whether or not you wanted to. Now, on one hand, it's like I understand that interpretation, but I actually kind of like Gellen's attempt to like push back against that, as someone who like is basically the embodiment of love, not just like, hey, he's gonna make you fall in love with you, but just wants to make you believe in optimism, believe you can believe a better person. And he does that in like in like in a Star Fox centric tie issue, as well as the series itself. But also the tie issue also has art by Daniele Di Niccolo, who illustrated 3 great volumes of Seven Secrets. So yeah, it looks great as opposed to being written quite well as well. But but I guess like one problem with the series is that if you're not reading some of the tie-ins, you're probably not going to get the whole story as well, because like I said, you've got like that Star Fox issue, but you've also got Death to the Mutants, which is like basically issues 13, 14, and 15 of Gillen's Eternals run, where basically you find out what Icarus, Phasos, Sprite, Thena, Circe, and the rest of the gang are doing, in the margins of the series, and this works. And like this actually, they add like some pretty good like stories, which is when Icarus actually decides to be clever for once instead of just being thoroughly straightforward. It's like, I'm gonna like hit the thing that's being the problem. Like he decides like, hey, like why don't we actually like try to be something else instead of being like Eternals. So that's pretty clever for the first issue. But we also get like stuff like Minmosine, the it's like what? It's like the big flaming like I remember the Hex, which is like the giant kaiju like Eternals, being it's like it's like being like the flame of creativity, but also just talking to a like human about like the works of Sylvia Plath and all. It's like that's kind of fun as well. And then also the human machine, which Gillen is presented as a quirky, weird, like funny, funny voice of the Earth, who also thoroughly loves Deep Space Nine. It's like also like has its moments as well, especially in the third issue, where it's being corrupted by the by this new eternal celestial god. It's like, and it's like as this god is like telling him like, you will self-destruct as I've told you to, and the eternal machine basically says, no, I won't, because that's not, because the eternals the principles say I will protect celestials, I will not obey them. And just like, hey, and it's like and the celestials like, yo, hey, I don't care. It's like, you're going to do what I tell you to, like, or else you will die. And the eternal machine basically says, come at me, bro, which is great. Just that kind of irreverence, like is strewn throughout the series, and that's what makes it a lot of good fun. It's like, but like I said, you're gonna need to read these like these tie-in issues, and I gotta admit, it's like yeah, I don't want to like keep coming out and say, hey, like Marvel Unlimited is like a really great value. It's like if you read as much comics on it as I do, but it's really great when you're just when you want to like, look at an event series and just read all the tie-in stuff. I mean, not all of the tie-in stuff is worth reading. I mean, yeah, the X-Men issues are fine. The Wolverine stuff is fine as well. But do we really need 4 issues of Craven sticking on to a Krakoa to fight to prove his worth to the Prime Celestial? Even involves him carving a half-eaten Deadpool out of a polar bear. It's like, I don't think we needed that, but it's like, but I do appreciate the fact that I was able to read through all the tie-ins and make that decision on myself for free, or not for free, but for it's like close enough to free. But I will say that when it comes to like the tie-in stuff, the stuff that you're not going to get when you buy like say the like the X the Judgment Day collection, which collects the the 6-issue mini event series plus the 3 like between issue 5 and 6 tie-ins, Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals one shots, which are basically like spotlight issues on Tony Stark, Jean Grey, it's like and Ajak, like of the Eternals. It's like they're all good. They are good, character stories, and they help to underline the fact that the characters who pass their respective trials, their tests by the Prime Eternal, are basically the ones that are more like self-aware about their limitations more than anything else. But it's like, in terms of like actually necessary tie-ins, well, I would say that not all of like some of the Gillen writes is necessary. I mean, the Immortal X-Men stuff is good. I mean, like I appreciate like the insight into it's like uh, Exodus's mindset in issue 5, and also Sebastian Shaw. It's like in issue 6, where it's supposed to be revealed that he's got he's basically he's kind of a bastard, but he more than anything else, he resents being judged by the person that by the image that the Celestial sends him to be judged by. That's kind of what sets him off to be a kind of a slightly better person when he's discussing things with uh, with Star Fox, later in the issue. But then there's also like issue 7, which basically is like the spotlight up, it's like on Nightcrawler, and well, that's him just trying to be his usual dapper chipper self, like in the spot of Apocalypse. It's also kind of crucial in the sense that you wonder like, well, why does Orcus show up fighting against the Celestial in issue 6? Well, he's got that's Immortal X-Men issue 7 has the explanation there. Also, if you're wondering why Magneto shows up to nuke Uranos, the most evil and diabolical of Eternals. It's like in issue 5. No, issue 4. It's like then you've got to read X-Men Red issues 5 and 6, 5, 6, and 7. In fact, these are probably the most crucial tie-ins to the series, because they offer specific explanations as to why Uranus gets defeated and why he needed to be defeated. It's like in the first place, and also but also like in that regard, um, let's see. Legion of X issue 6 is also kind of imperative, because it shows you like, well, why did Legion or David Haller fail when he went toe to toe against Uranos, like in the margins of those X-Men Red issues. Well, like Simon Spurrier has a certain amount of contempt for being asked to participate in these in these crossover issues, but he actually does have a nicely subversive take on on how David would contribute to this, because it's not because he's looking to subvert his dad, looking to help his dad. No, it's because his dad's most notable adversary, Magneto, basically asks him, I need you to hold the line while we take down Uranos, because we've got the plan. And David, is just kind of like resentful of the fact that I didn't, I'm still around, I'm alive, but I didn't get the hero's death. Is it wrong for me to resent that? And that's the margin that he's judged by. And like the ultimate judgment he gets, he's not reassured by. So I like that. And also the X-Men Red issues also further the overall story of the series. It mentions that actually furthering the story of the series will also contributing meaningfully to the to the crossover plot, as it is, because I mean it also tells you, because these X-Men Red issues also work to remove Iska the Unbeaten from the from the Great Ring, while also exploring the limitations of her powers. Because even though she can't be beaten, that's what her mutant power is. Well, it doesn't mean she can't actually win in certain conditions, and that's and Ewing defines some really clever ways to to illustrate that. Oh, and also Cape at the end of issue 7, the epilogue is WizKid and Cable finding out that Brand it appears to be actually be working with Orcus, and Cable is not happy about this, and it's a great one-page reveal that I thought worked really well. But in order to read this, you're not just going to have to buy one volume of X-Men Red. You have to buy volumes 1 and 2 because that's how the tie-ins are split apart, split over it. But that's not a bad thing because X-Men Red is really good, and you should go ahead and read both volumes. So I'm glad it's continuing on to a third volume. Maybe it's a concluding volume that's still more than what Sword got like for its two volumes, and that was fantastic. But overall, it's like I did enjoy this like this event because because the finale does actually find a way to find a way to cleverly defeat the this new like eternal celestial god. It's like, and yeah, even if that kind of defeat was a foregone conclusion, Gauntlet at least finds a nice way to to pull that off. And throughout the main event, artist Valerio Schiti, who's done great work, on Sword and also on titles like Inferno and in Hickman's it's like New Avengers and more. It's like he's done he does like great stylish epic art that conveys the scale of the of the story being told here. It's like and it's like and he's a real asset to to the story being told here. It's like, I mean, if they want, he also worked on like Empire as well. But so hey, if Marvel just want to keep throwing A-list work at him, like he's a guy that just like um can can hack it definitely. And even though it's like the end of the series just kind of like can may be a bit melodramatic in the sense that it ends on a you are still being judged every day with a thumb being held sideways and slightly vibrating in order to imply that hey like the thumb by this the newer like eternal celestial god that is always being judgmental and watchful. Well, there you go. But it also like wraps up with this like Omega issue that well it's like it basically like spells that it's basically kind of a final like Gillen's final thoughts on on the Eternals. And it's one of those cases where like he tries to show that these Eternals can change and that they have changed under his watch. But at the same time, like any like further development of this is going to be like done from like some other like series because he's not writing them like for the future, and there's no new Eternal series like on the horizon. So maybe this will stick, maybe it won't. But overall, it's like I enjoyed it. It's like, and even if it's like the overall changes for that Gillen puts forth here aren't like lasting and sticking, I still enjoyed what he did here. And I do recommend picking up the main series at least. You can also pick up the companion, which has the Death to Mutants and Omega and Star Fox issues and more. But really, it's like you're also going to want to pick up X-Men Red volumes 1 and 2. 2 has not been released yet, but I do recommend it because X-Men Red is fantastic, and hey, it's like it's more of a chance for Al Ewing to write more of Roberto da Costa. It's like which he did so well in his New Avengers series, and I think that's enough of a reason as it is. But overall, it's like Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day. It's definitely one of the better like events I've read from Marvel. Like even though it's like you're probably gonna want to you're gonna be like left probably spending a lot in order to depending on how you're gonna pick up and read all of this stuff like for the main series and its tie-ins. So there you go.
Well, sounds like something I'll be picking up. So, I mean, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, interesting it was. It's like like I said, I recommend it, but like you got to be kind of invested in like that ongoing narrative of the Marvel universe. Or if you're just someone who really liked what Gillen was doing on Eternals, then this is the finale to it. So you got to read this in order to get that finale.
Sweet. Okay, you know what you're going to be talking about next time, or not?
Lewis and Clark.
Lois and Clark. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
no, Lewis and Clark.
Holy cow! I
Yeah.
totally misunderstood what you said. So yeah, that changes. That's a totally different thing. You're talking about
Yeah.
the explorers, right?
Yeah, and it turns out, like, hey, their exploration of the Western United States actually had more in common with the X-Files than anything else.
Oh wow. Well, hey, cool. I can't wait to hear what you have on that review next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, ladies, everyone.
See ya.